the people that benefit most from anything, and this is certainly true about Bitcoin, are the people who look not to where we're at right now, but to the next phase. And so what is the phase for money, or what are the stages for money? The first stage is it's a novelty and a collectible. Then something moves into a store of value. Then it moves into a medium of exchange, and then it turns into a unit of account. That is the fullness of money. If you're using the highest degree of money, now you can use it as money in any stage, but it is fully accepted as from a society if it has reached that unit of account. And unit of account means that a company keeps their books in it. Your profit and loss is written in that standard. So right now, fiat, your US dollars or your euros or whatever it is, that's how companies or you keep your personal finances. That is the unit of account. Medium exchange, fiat still fits that because that's what people use for goods and services. And store of value, well, clearly that phase for fiat, that store of value phase, very few people use it to store value because they'll opt to take that fiat and put it in equities and things like that. So the bottom is getting pulled out on fiat, but we see clearly that Bitcoin has gone past the novelty phase, right? There was a point in Bitcoin's history where you could literally get Bitcoin for free. You could go to Sats Faucet or bitcoinfaucet.com and get a Bitcoin. You just click on it and you get a Bitcoin, right?
For the capture, no, you had to do the capture. One capture, which
right.
we do now to verify that we're humans, that we do them for free multiple times a day. You could do that one thing and get 5 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Insane.
I mean, how crazy is that you could just get 5 Bitcoin by going to a website and because
$500,000, if I may just say, right?
Yes. And 5 Bitcoin was seen as like, that's a waste of time. It was, that's why even people are like, yeah, Bitcoin's cool. That's a waste of time to do that because it was so inconsequential. So it was a novelty. It was a collectible. Even when Bitcoin was worth $200, $300, $1,000, it was a novelty. It was like, I buy Bitcoin because I know I'm an early adopter. I just think this is kind of fun. And lots of people, sold it because it went up to $1,500 and they thought that they made a bunch of money, or it went from 30 cents to 60 cents and they sold it because they thought as a collectible, you would sell a collectible. If I owned a Beanie Baby and it went from $1 to $10, I'm going to sell it at that profit. And so that's why there's very few Bitcoin OGs, right? The people that bought Bitcoin for 10 cents or mined the first Bitcoin was free. A lot of those people got out at some point because it was considered a collectible. Now we're in that store of value phase, right? And it's a long period, but it's been this way for years, and we see that. Individuals use it as a store of value. Companies use it as a store of value. We're talking about the most powerful countries in the world using it as a store of value. Okay, so we're clearly in the store of value phase. So what I just said a minute ago was the people who benefit most greatly are the ones that look ahead. If you were in the novelty phase of Bitcoin, the collectible phase of Bitcoin, and you were already treating it like a store of value, you would make billions of dollars by understanding that this thing will be a store of value just by thinking one stage ahead. You didn't have to think to unit of account when it was 10 cents a Bitcoin. You just had to think, man, someday this is going to be $10,000. This is going to be $100,000. I remember when I bought my first Bitcoin, I think I got my first Bitcoins for like $275. I told my wife, these are going to be $10,000 someday. And I thought that was like a crazy statement, but I was like, because there's only 21 million. Okay. So I benefited because I looked ahead. And I wasn't the earliest one. There's people that were much earlier than me or were able to buy more than me. But that was the focus. And again, that turned out to be very, very lucrative in terms of the appreciation of the buying power. My same suggestion is happening right now. And you would have felt crazy when Bitcoin was a novelty, when it was a collectible, you would feel icky about thinking and treating it as a store of value. That just doesn't make sense. When it went from 30 cents to 60 cents, you could rightfully, if I told you, wait, hold on till it's $100,000, because then you're really going to see what it's worth, or wait till it's worth $1 million, you'd be like, you freaking idiot. Like, I just made 100% gain. I'm going to sell it. I just made $10,000. I'm going to sell it and buy something of value. I don't want to wait 10 years for this. You would have, like most people, like people would have justifiably said that, but they failed to look one ahead. But for those who understand Bitcoin's a store of value, the next phase of money is medium of exchange. So the act of using it in a medium of exchange will benefit you most greatly, not because, and people fail to see how. Well, if you're using it as a medium of exchange, you're tapping into that market. And so let me explain how this would benefit somebody. So for example, my barber, I travel 30 extra miles to go to my barber because he accepts Bitcoin. We call this the
You mentioned
Bitcoin
now in
cheat
the
code.
last episode that I respect that you go
Yes,
the extra mile, you drive like over an hour to get to your barber just
exactly.
because you accept sats.
It's 30 miles in Southern California. And so I won't re-explain that for anybody that's seen the episode, but I pay my barber in Bitcoin. Guess what? He sells my book in his shops. And so even though I spend Bitcoin with him, he he sells more of my books than I spend on haircuts because he likes to talk about Bitcoin and his customers like to talk about Bitcoin. So he then like sells them the books and then pays me in Bitcoin back. And because I participate in this economy, and let me back up a second. In the fiat economy, most people, if you're doing it right, you spend less than you earn. So at the end of the month, you have more fiat than you started with. Well, what makes you think that the Bitcoin economy is any different? If you're providing value to the economy, and like you said, when you're spending Bitcoin, you consider your purchases. You don't spend anything, but you just make sure. I'm like, am I spending wisely? Well, hopefully, if you're providing more value to the economy than you're taking from it, then you're going to have a surplus of sats. And so by plugging into that economy, you benefit most greatly. And now I'll give one more example on this. Look at the internet. If you go back to the 90s, there were people who bought and sold domain names. They treated it as a collectible, a novelty. Somebody that bought business.com for $1 million turned around and sold it for $15 million. They became rich from that. That's great because they treated it as a collectible. But who were the guys that built the internet economy? Those names are Elon Musk, built PayPal. Those guys are Amazon, or Jeff Bezos with Amazon,
Bezos, yeah.
built e-commerce. They didn't just make $15 million, which was great. They made $300 billion because they participated in the internet economy. They weren't like, wow, domains, I can make a profit on that. No, there's an economy to be built. And that changes by orders of magnitude the amount of wealth that you can build. So if you're participating in the building of the Bitcoin economy, yes, your Bitcoin's going to go up in buying power, but your ability to earn sats and be a power player in that economy is going to be so much more valuable to you than you holding your 0.5 Bitcoin and having the buying power of it go up. Both of those things are great, but if you want to hyperdrive your ability to participate in this economy, looking to the next phase is the most important thing you can do.